And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and this is Diamond Jedi from the Clone Wars. Now, what I love about Diamond Jedi is she's female. Yay! I love females because they're only 3% of the population. I wish there was far more playing the game. I wish it was a more balanced affair, but guys statistically play more games, and they statistically like Star Wars more. So good on you for representing the female race. Anyway, Diamond Jedi, you had a couple of interesting concepts, actually, that you asked to be. You wanted territory battles. That was really what you were focused on. Territory battles light side, territory battles dark side. Kind of if there's any Zetas for Arena that you might want to do, and then you kind of wanted to build an all-female team for Arena, or just an all-female team just for fun. And the first thing that popped into my mind is Night Sisters. And I know you're going, no, Night Sisters. And so I'll give you an alternative, not just Night Sisters, because I don't think that was your intent. But Night Sisters are just that. They're all females. So this is an entire group of females who can kick major butt. And you're doing really good. You got them all 7 stars on the top row. So all you got to do is gear them up. And this is a team to be reckoned with. So if you want an all-female team, Night Sisters are probably the way to go. But let's not stop there. There's actually another all-female team that is up and coming, and I think you would really enjoy it as well. That's right, Resistance. There are surprisingly many female in the Resistance, and I love it. So Jedi Training Rey, obviously, Rey Scavenger. Resistance Pilot is actually a female. Resistance Pilot's a female. Amilyn Holdo and Rose Tico. Now, Rose Tico is actually a very good character, better than Resistance Pilot, but a lot of people have a thing against Rose Tico, and actually she's not farmable quite yet. So if I was going to run a team and not want to do Night Sisters, I would probably run Resistance with Rey Jedi Training, Rey Scavenger, Amilyn Holdo as the tank, and Resistance Pilot as one of the attackers. And probably, you know, you could put in Rose Tico if you want, but you can really run this kind of all female, all resistance team if you wanted to, or Night Sisters, or you could blend it where you put, you know, Jedi Training Rey and Rey Scavenger and Holdo as the 3 from Resistance, and then put in Asajj Ventress and Mother Talzin on the other side. But Holdo is really a phenomenal tank with an AoE daze and the ability to give foresight out to the team. Really, really, really good. I know that they're only 4-star because they're not farmable yet, but you will be able to farm these characters. So that's really exciting about 4 to 6 weeks from now. So you might as well start gearing them, especially if you're looking for an all-female team. Now, we could have built you an all-female team that consisted of, like, you know, Hera, Syndulla, and, you know, Jyn Erso and stuff. But really what you're getting is a bunch of support characters, and you got to balance it out with support, attackers, tanks. And fun fact, Holdo is the only taunting female tank in the game. Rey is the only other tank in the game. So the only 2 female tanks in the game is Holdo and Rey Jedi Training, but Rey Jedi Training is a non-taunting tank, and Amilyn Holdo is an actual taunting tank that's female. So there you have it. Those are your all-female teams I would suggest. Let's get back to Zetas, and the Zetas are both coming out of way of Resistance for your team, and one of them is actually Combat Analysis. That's right, R2-D2 has an amazing Zeta that a lot of people skipped for Numbers Crunch, which, by the way, was the right decision back in the day. But now, because of the Sith Raid, Combat Analysis is becoming critical. Every time you crit, which, by the way, Rey boosts everyone's critical chance. When you crit, you cleanse. And this is really, really important in phase 1. It really brings about durability and longevity in that phase that people are looking for. And then, of course, the second Zeta out of the Resistance team, and you use her in Arena, is actually Focused Strikes Zeta. And this actually means as long as she has no debuffs, she will daze on any of her hits. So all 3 of her hits are mass attacks that do a lot of damage. Now think about mass attacks that do a lot of damage in daze, especially when you're talking about the current state of the meta with Thrawns that counter, and Wampas that counter, and CLSs that counter, and Han Solos that counter. It becomes hypercritical that you have the daze, as well as when you're running through territory battles light side, which you mentioned was something that you were focused on as a big priority. So Combat Analysis will help in everything, including territory battles and your Arena. and Sith Raid, and Focused Strikes is going to help in Sith Raid. It's going to help in the territory battles and in Arena. So I would finish off your team by giving Focused Strikes, Zeta, and the combat analysis. Now let's move to light side and dark side territory battles. We'll tackle the light side territory battle first, and there are 4 teams that you basically can build for that, and they're almost all of them rebels, but the Rogue One squad is actually required Rogue One, so it's 5 of these guys for a specific node, actually a couple of nodes, and then same thing with the Phoenix, and so you're going to have to at some point develop into this, but I will say that Rogue One you can save until last. And so there's also, like I mentioned, the Phoenix squad, which you're good. So the Phoenix squad is an excellent team. The team you've got here probably will work very, very well in territory battles. So of the light side territory battles, Phoenix can check that off the list. Also, you have your rebels, just general rebels. We're talking, CLS and R2-D2 and old Ben, some basics, Princess Leia. You've got some really good rebels in here that you can use for just a generalized basic rebel team, okay? Old Ben, like I said. And so you're good with your overall rebels, you're good with your Phoenix, and you will want to focus on your Rogue One. But for light side territory battles, the section that I see that needs the most work is actually your resistance, and this is why you can build 2 hybrid teams out of your resistance for territory battles, and a couple of the characters that work really well in those teams is Poe Dameron and Resistance Trooper, and neither one of them are geared up. So I would definitely put in your highest priority Rogue One, but after you get Poe and Resistance Trooper. Probably throw Poe and Resistance Trooper into your favorites first, work on them, and after you knock them out, throw the Rogue One in, because Rogue One is important. But we want to balance what you have on light side and dark side to make sure that you're not going too crazy and getting only one side fixed. So because you have a couple of good characters, there's one MVP in here that I would highly recommend. You have him 6-star, gear 6, and this guy was given to us by the game as a direct counter to light side territory battles. It would be a disservice to yourself to not develop this guy to max. He dazes on basic, and when you are facing characters that often counter relentlessly, he is sometimes the only way and the only reason why I can complete perfect in the raids or in the territory battles. And so by not developing him, you're actually handicapping yourself. So I would make this Han Solo high priority, just like Poe and Resistance Trooper. Get those guys going, and then you can go back to your Rogue One. For dark side, we're going to give you the first priority, and that's going to be First Order. The good news with First Order is you're almost halfway there. Kylo Ren looks good. First Order TIE Pilot looks pretty good, but you still have First Order Officer, First Order Stormtrooper, and Kylo Ren Unmasked that need some work. I wouldn't worry as much about First Order Officer, as there's a potential of replacing him down the road with First Order Executioner, potentially. So because of that, the 2 highest priorities that are definite is First Order Stormtrooper and Kylo Ren Unmasked. Both of those tanks are phenomenal. Both have ships, so they're crew members, and you're going to want to use them. This is going to help you in not only territory battles dark side, but also dark side benefits and bonuses from First Order in territory wars. And so you definitely are going to want to Zeta Kylo Ren's leadership, but I use First Order. I actually use Kylo Ren Unmasked, First Order Stormtrooper, Kylo Ren, the TIE Pilot, and the First Order Officer. I use those in my dark side territory battle. It's one of the nodes that just says dark side, and I use them on one node every single phase, and they're guaranteed going to be perfect. I literally can hit it on auto, and it autos right through. It's crazy how strong and powerful they are and how much health and protection regen that they get. So this is definitely the MVP. Other than Night Sisters, this is the MVP for the territory battles, which is what you're focused on. And again, you're so close to being done with this team. I would go in and finish this team off. But remember, it'll be Kylo Ren Unmasked, Kylo Ren, First Order Storm Trooper, and then First Order Officer. And then in that last slot for damage, you could either have First Order TIE Pilot, which you have now, or First Order Executioner if you want to develop him. But for Path of Least Resistance, you could ignore Executioner and go ahead and use your top row, not using Phasma, using First Order instead, First Order Officer. So that's good. The next team is actually a bland Empire team, and you have it. So you're really good. You got a bland Empire team that should do really, really well on any Empire node or nodes that require Darth Vader or Empire only. But remember that Imperial troopers are a subsect within the Empire, and you're looking really, really good. The only two here that I would throw into your favorites, remember we had 3 really thrown into your favorites from light side. That was, Poe, Resistance Trooper, and Captain Han Solo. For the dark side, you're going to definitely, aside from the First Order, you're going to want to throw in Shore Trooper and Colonel Stark for gearing. So we're up to 5 plus the faction of First Order. And then, of course, after all of that, as the last thing I would suggest finishing off after First Order, your Night Sisters. First Order and Night Sisters are both really, really, really solid teams in territory battles, which is what your super focus is on, and they both work really well in territory wars. Neither the First Order or the Night Sisters team will you regret ever any investments that you put into them. But you're a long way away from Night Sisters in comparison to First Order, so my professional recommendation is lean in on that First Order first, get them done. As far as Zetas on First Order, you'd want the Kylo Ren Unmasked, and then possibly throwing one on First Order Stormtrooper. It's a really good Zeta. As far as Night Sisters down the road, you'll want Asajj Ventress Leadership, then Mother Talzin's Unique, then Asajj Ventress Unique, and then Old Daka Unique, but it's not necessary, just makes the team more durable. So 3 to 4 Zetas, which is pretty much par for the course for any team nowadays, but you're lined out pretty well. Love the team that you're running. The only issue I see with your current arena squad as we speak is there's a ton of damage you can probably roll through folks on offense. The issue is on defense, and the reason for this issue is your old Ben, he doesn't use his taunt right off the bat. He doesn't have an auto taunt. And so what happens is without a double tank situation, you get fractured before he has the ability to throw the taunt up, which even though he has a double fracture or double taunt, it has to be up first before it works. And so if he gets fractured early, they can then pick apart whoever they want on the team, which will sadly be your Rey Scavenger. She'll go first, and then they'll probably kill R2-D2, and then Rey Jedi Training, and then BB-8 and Old Ben. That'll probably be the kill order they go with. So one last thought before I go, is to double tank in the background. And if you're going to double tank in the background with Old Ben, there's a couple of options that would make sense. Right now, one of them that would make sense is Kanan Jarrus, because he's pretty high up there and he does taunt. Another one, which isn't ready yet, would actually be Stormtrooper Han. And I know that sounds crazy, but he provides a ton of extra turn meter, which is just nuts for the team that you're running. And he would be able to throw a taunt up immediately, get fractured, and then allow for Old Ben to become the spider web that Old Ben is created to be. But obviously Stormtrooper Han isn't ready quite yet, so you may want to consider developing him. But with so much on your plate, you might just want to keep your team the way it is now. Anyway, Diamond Jedi, thank you very much for letting me take a look at your roster. It was fun. Shout out to the Clone Wars again. You've been playing for 2 years, but for 6 months took a break. I tell you, for only taking 6 months break and of only a year and a half in the game, you're looking really, really good. You came back with hyper focus. As a Dolphin, again, you don't have a whole lot of money invested, so you're going to have to be hyper focused on the things that I suggested. Focus on those individual characters first, and then First Order next. You will do just fine. Have fun with that female team, either the Night Sisters down the road or this Resistance team that you can make now. And as always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.